Hi, I'm Gary White for Central Kentucky Television. I'm here with John Thompson, who is the building inspector and zoning official for the city of Lebanon. And we're going to do an update on some of the building inspecting and zoning official stuff going on.
All right.
And particularly the property maintenance committee.
Okay, yeah.
Recently you had a meeting regarding some properties in Lebanon and seeing how you're going to be handling that.
Right.
We had last summer, I think it was, we went around and looked at some of the different properties out there. Can you give us an update on what's been going on?
Yeah, back in December, actually, is when the meeting started. The property maintenance board met, and we had, at that time, I think there was 4 properties that were the main problems that we had, and the property maintenance board voted to go ahead, if the property owners didn't come into compliance by the end of December, that the city would go on the property and actually clean them up and bill the person, and either if they pay, fine; if they don't, well, then we would file liens against the properties. Deadlines came and went, of course, so we had some good weather, some bad weather in that stretch, so taking that in mind, we finally, in January, got started on a couple of the properties that were on the list, one of them being the Molden property at the corner of North Harrison and Baldrick Avenue, and the city has cleaned that property up. Not as good as maybe a homeowner would, but we've got it in pretty good shape. We wanted to fix some holes that were in the roof of the house, but we think it's a little more than our crew can handle. So I don't know. We're gonna have to revisit that issue. But the property itself, the exterior of the property, is in pretty decent shape now. The other one was the Evelyn Vaughn property over on the corner of East Walnut and North Woodlawn Avenue, and of course that property is one that the city is going to get in our name eventually. We hope. Right now we have part of the owners have signed it over to the city, so I guess we're a part owner now. So we have gone on that property and cleaned it up somewhat. Don't know what we're going to do with the house just yet. Most likely it's going to be torn down. Don't know if the city's going to do that, or if we're going to try to either sell or give the property to someone, or whatever.
Now, why is the city taking over that property?
Because of the back taxes that's owed on it, and not fees, but the penalties that are owed on it. Those figures are more than the property's worth. So the property owners say, if you will take the property for what we owe on it, then you can have it. So that's kind of how that came about. The other 2 properties that were on the list, one being the Frank Spraggins property, like I say, the January deadline came and nothing had happened, so we had another meeting to decide for sure that's what we were going to do. And we started that process, but Mr. Spraggins, right at the last minute, came in with a contract with a contractor to tear the house down and clean the property up. So, and that's the best situation for the city, is that the property owner do it themselves, and the city not have to be involved and use taxpayer money or to clean up the property and then try to retrieve it back from the property owner. So they actually started on the property. There was a deadline of January the 20th, which will be tomorrow, is the new deadline for it to be cleaned up. I don't think that's going to happen. Of course, we had a couple of rain days and a snow day or extremely cold day or 2 in there. So we were going to work with the contractor, and as long as he's still making progress, I think we're going to let him keep working on it, because the contractor that we were going to hire to clean the property, it was going to be probably the end of January before he could get there and work on it anyway. So Mr. Spraggins has done a lot of cleaning on his property, and it does look somewhat better. I mean, if you consider what was there to begin with. The only other property the last property that we had on the list was a property owned by Mr. Lebanon Ky down on South Harrison Street, and we were just about ready to start on that property and last week, and Mr. McKay started on and cleaning it up himself. So we're coming along pretty good with the property maintenance issues. And now we're probably going to start on, we have a couple of properties in Court Square that have been abandoned and for quite some time, and I think the roof's falling in on one of them, which is causing some property damage to the adjoining property. So we're probably going to have to attack that next.
So that's commercial property, I take it, right? That's
in commercial property. Then one of our council members brought up at the last meeting the old Jane and Linda property, and I've gone out and looked at it, and it probably has some debris around it that needs to be cleaned up. I'm not sure it's the property owner's debris as much as it is stuff that's blown in there, or people, just because it's abandoned, people drive by and just throw stuff out. Because
now people might, where is that property, in case people don't know?
It's out on Springfield Highway. It's next to Rake's Brothers Garage, and it's been abandoned for quite some time now. And so that property we're going to look at, and then probably some of our next issues are going to be rental properties. This winter, for some reason, I've gotten several calls from individuals that were, and most of them were moving out of the property for one reason or another, but mainly because of the maintenance issues. They claim that the owner of the property doesn't want to maintain it. So we're probably going to start looking at some of those properties now that we have the main properties. Whenever we started this ordinance that we had on our list, we've got most of those done now, so we're going to start looking at some of these other properties.
Now, for some of them you're seeing it's a mixture of the property itself, the building structure itself, as well as the shrubbery and different things outside of it. So there's two elements to it, right?
Yeah. The structure is our main issue to begin with. Is what kind of shape is it in, and what does it look like? Is it standing, or is it going to fall and become a nuisance to the property owners next door? And then the next issue, whenever you talk about shrubs and stuff, it's there's a lot of fence lines and property lines within the city limits that have trees and shrubs, and some people may consider that not to look too good, and others say that, if you talk to the property owners, they're like, well, that's my buffer from the neighbor. So we're probably not going to get into those issues as much as if the whole property takes, if the residence or whatever building is on the property, if it's starting to look pretty bad and it's starting to grow up around it, and then the fence lines are starting to really, really grow up, and maybe, a lot of them they'll go in and somebody will mow the property for them, but they won't weed eat up next to the fence. So the next thing you know, we're out 8 or 10 feet from the fence line with trees starting to grow. So those are the type we will look at.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you're talking about rental properties. What kind of aspects have been hearing about there?
Well, I hear a lot of the renters that have been calling. It's issues with electrical wires hanging out of the wall, maybe light fixtures gone. Some of them claim that the hot water isn't running properly, or maybe there is no hot water, and the heat system's not working properly, and they're having to use electric space heaters, which gets pretty expensive to run, and just those type of issues that we can look into. And of course, it's not automatic whenever someone calls me that we actually have a problem. I go look at them, and I find out that probably the person that called is the one that caused the problem. They took a plug in or a switch out of the wall and just left it, and now for one reason or another, and I find out a lot that they owe back rent and whatnot, so now they're trying to figure out a way to get out of that. So not all the issues are big issues. It's just something we're going to look at. And so if you own rental property, just start kind of looking it over and see if you have any maintenance issues, and we shouldn't have any problem.
Now, those kind of issues, or some of them aren't new with the property maintenance ordinance, right? I mean, if they don't have hot water and they didn't, some of that kind of
the big deal is before the property maintenance, before we adopted a property maintenance code, we really didn't have anything to cite them for.
Okay.
We could cite them, but we really didn't have anything to back us up, other than maybe the building code, and then we had to take that to the district court, and
it'd be difficult.
They have a lot of other issues they need to deal with, other than somebody not having the proper heat in the house or something. Yeah. So the property maintenance board will help in a lot of those situations.
Okay. And if somebody does think they have an issue that needs to be looked at by the property maintenance board, who should they call?
They can call me, John Thompson, at Lebanon City Hall. Number is 692-6272. And if I'm not available, well, they'll leave me a message, and I'll get back with them.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right.
And I've been talking with John Thompson, who is the building inspector and zoning official for the City of Lebanon.